Hello, hello, welcome back to Ashes of the Singularity Escalation. Today I am shoutcasting another match between two very top players. In the bottom right, playing as our orange PHC is Neatep, and his opponent, the blue PHC, Shimbalama. We are playing on Espana today, and this cast is rather overdue. I haven't posted an Ashes cast in a while, so I'm definitely keen to be back here, bringing more content to Ashes. I love this game immensely, and I especially just love watching high-level players go at it. You see their strategies, you see how efficient their timings and their compositions and whatnot are. So this map has a very strong center. You have 4 radioactives deposits, and there's a decent amount of metal nearby. However, it's so exposed that it's rare that you actually see this area saturated in terms of actually having extractors, especially things like amplifiers. So a lot of your main income comes around the sides here, for example. So it's one of those maps where you can play in different ways. You can try to build 3 armories here and then just shove the middle. Or you can play a little bit more tactically, have air units to harass the extractors. You can even use spawns like the sentries to get some key cutoffs. This one, for example, will cut off the north, as will here. And Terranium control can be an option. There isn't a massive amount of Terranium points required. It's only about 1,000, and they're quite defensible as well because of the high ground. So I do like this map. So how many factories do we have? Because that's going to tell you how aggressive they're going to play. With 2 factories here for Neatep, only 1 for Shimbalama. So he may go for more side control. If he has 1 factory producing frigates for either flank, the bottom and the right, he could do that quite aggressively, whereas we may double engineer. I expect there to be multiple armories here, and then for him to try and shove the front door down. Let's see how far they go. Wow, I thought the armories were going to be about here, but he may even put them further. Might be an airfield being thrown down also. Nope, not yet. But air units are very good on this map because you have these pathway blockers. So land units are a lot less mobile than air units because there's a few of those high ground locations. Wow, even going further. So maybe he'll try and capture this with Smarties. You do the Smartie cap where you build one here and then you build another one further. Because you can capture with defensive turrets. But obviously that requires there to be no creeps. And so building them with creeps nearby is a challenge. I guess he has 2 engineers, so they can just repair each other. So I think that's the plan. Yeah. The creeps, it's still pretty early on in the game. It's only 4 minutes. So these creeps won't have a lot of damage. He'll be able to build through that. Well, an interesting gambit here for Shimbalama. Let's see if it pays off. Armory and a Smartie being thrown down there. I wonder why he wanted that Smartie so quickly. Perhaps just expecting there to be an attack at some point. Another factory too. So yeah, we are seeing a very different playstyle here. Going for the extractors. He doesn't actually have an armory there yet. That concerns me a little bit. Only a single factory. Yeah, Shimbalama's floating a bit of cash here. He definitely needs more production than just that. Now, one Smartie will be able to hold this small frigate army off. So he'll be okay for now. There are more frigates on the way. Now, I was given a disclaimer that they were a bit rusty. So perhaps that explains why Shimbalama's lack of production wasn't quite there, but we see him fixing that up now. He's got 1 sky factory, another one's being built, also churning through a fair bit more of his metal, so building more engineers, building an amplifier, so he is adjusting this. So now he's actually building even more defenses here, constable, sensor array. His income's definitely better, having got that central region. But now he has two. Yeah, here we go. That's where the resources were being spent. Double armory on the right flank. So that's an interesting spot for the production. Not having it more forward. It's going to be not as reactive had it been central. He will be able to defend this region, though. There was actually an emergency turret thrown down, so that must have been preemptively once he scouted the Zeus with those frigates. Emergency turret in response on the Turinium generator, so wants to hold on to that one. But in the center now, so that was a scout plane seeing what's up, and artillery posts are being thrown down. Armory there in the front lines for Neatep, and it is being boosted out, so the Artemis artillery cruiser, more armories being thrown down also. Holding on to this position is going to be quite challenging with those armories nowhere nearby. The arty post is going to complete, but I don't see that holding off. I mean, a Smarty's being built, but again, against the artillery cruiser, it's going to be hard to actually keep that alive. This position is being pushed. The Zeus, however, targeting the extractor for some reason, not the emergency turret. He must have issued that attack order before that was deployed. The engineer's within range of this emergency turret. It's going to get sniped before it completes the Smarty. Oops. The bottom left, however, it has been taken by the frigates, but there is a Hades bomber squadron. Going for the frigates would be ideal. If you get a nice bombing run on all of those archers, that'd be quite deadly. But may also get this engineer. Neatep still behind in radioactives, but he's got a nice line of quantum relays. No sign of any amplifiers just yet, however, for that extra rad's income. The emergency turret goes down, but it almost took down both of these cruisers, and the Hades will clean them up. That is, if it actually hits. Yeah, great use of these amplifiers. Even throwing down refineries. He's playing a pretty aggressive economy game in that sense, going for them very early. Now, he is going to be repairing these structures with the engineer, but it's great to see the targeting is on the artillery post. He loses the Artemis, however, he may get the killing blow with that last round. Yeah, he blows up the artillery post as the Artemis falls. And there's 3 more to take his place anyway. Artillery post definitely more expensive. Now, we are seeing some air fights. Hades looking for something, maybe even just for scouting at this point. The Furies were able to clean them up. However, one of them sneaks through. What does he see? He sees the amplifiers, sees double Sky Factory. Now, what's really important is if he sees the advanced Sky Factory. Let's swap to the Fog of War. I'm not sure if he's actually revealed that one. More Hades are also then revealed before that Hades squadron gets picked off. Neatep's about to have both of the Turinium generators, and he has so many frigates around the map, which is why these Hades bombers are so crucial. This position is crumbling. Building several Apollo anti-air cruisers. He's obviously aware of how much air unit emphasis there is. But this is a nice cruiser army. Will outnumber the cruisers of Neatep and will clean this army up. No engineers nearby, however, so he can't rebuild the defenses, or rather build some defenses on that Turinium generator. Hades, though, devastated this army. There's still a few things left, but took out most of those archers. Trying to push through is this frigate army, but one sentinel there. Not going to be enough to hold this whole army off. Well, scares him off anyway. He picked off one of the... no, going back in for more of them. Yeah, there goes the frigates. So the only threat that Neatep has right now is this army. However, it's quite slow and it is pretty far back. Single Smarty, not going to be enough. Maybe upgrading that to a barrage would help, or at least buy some time. Cruiser army here also for Neatep, but that one's much smaller, and it has been wounded by those Hades. Neatep's income is still behind, but making up for it with Quanta. Now even gunships in the sky, the air marauders. No signs of anti-air defense. Just a small amount of Furies. Maybe there's some here. Yeah, there's 2 constables and a bunch of Apollos. So this air army could do a lot of harassment damage against those extractors. Capturing that generator back is nice to see. That'll help swing the economy back in his favor, but this cruiser army definitely needs to act, because that is a strong force which currently isn't doing anything. Okay, nice work defending that cutoff, else he would have lost the radioactives region. However, it's currently lacking the extractors, so won't provide much income at the moment. This engineer hopefully will be sent down south, but also needs to get some Smarties just so there's no sentinel spawns or incursion spawns to prevent the income of those regions. Has some frigates there to capture that one, so it doesn't have to blow any of those orbitals to capture that one off. But it's buying time though. This air army is being very passive, and Neatep is responding with some constables. If you're going to reveal your army like this, you definitely want to make it work. There we go. So now he's swooping in. He will pick apart these engineers. Constables won't get completed. So having sent in those Furies didn't look like it was a good idea, because it actually then aggroed the air army and made him attack out. But even then, double constable wouldn't be that effective against that many air units. That's really where you want to have multiple constables, or a falcon, for example. 3 Apollos is definitely scary. That's going to be able to pick through this army much quicker. Though they are isolated on their own, you would definitely want to have units supporting them. Unsupported Apollos can get picked off. Now he's going for the extractors, looking for the income. These Apollos are just so slow, but they are getting within range now. Yeah, that's going to scare away this army, unless he really commits to the base. It looks like he is. Yeah, he's outrunning them. However, another cruiser army is pushing for Neatep along the center. Not a lot of units here to defend. Apollos are getting some pot shots, but more extractors fall. Constables being thrown down, but not enough. And focusing the Apollo right away. So good targeting by Neatep, by Shimbalama rather. All of these quantum relays are exposed also. The engineer is destroyed. The one constable is still shooting down these aircraft, but the gunships are undeterred. Apollos are gradually trying to join the fight, but... Oh wow, Neatep pulls his army back. I'm surprised. He definitely could have won that fight, and now he's lost several units in retreat. Units are a little bit faster if they're attacking something. Now he's going to attack backwards, but his army's been reduced to something much less scary. Oh man. Not a good engagement there at all for Neatep. Now he's just focusing down these quantum relays. Even the Hades are still alive, so they have good splash damage, and the Apollo's limping around. They're so much slower than this aircraft army. And Neatep's focused too much on anti-air. He's going to lose all these Apollos now to the Athena army. Not quite managing his composition enough. That's the problem with anti-air, is it's so much slower than aircraft, so you can get caught out of position. And having overcommitted to this, it finally cleaned up this army, but the damage has been done. Neatep's economy has been absolutely ruined, as has his land army. Even a Dreadnought's being produced by Shimbalama, or a Hyperion. This game is looking pretty over to me. Still doesn't have enough Athenas mixed in. Zeus, Apollo, Artemis, not what he wants to have against a ground force like this. So when Neatep scouted that that massive air army, he didn't build enough constables in his main base. He was trying to build some here, and then only when those were destroyed did he then start building constables here. He should have focused on getting more constables much sooner. Or maybe building another sky factory, but yeah, that's certainly the problem here. He had a bit of a lead in Quanta, but I think at this point it's going to be compensated for. Yeah, both the same amount of Quanta income now. 5 quantum relays, or rather 4 quantum relays for either player. The right side is being pushed. Emergency turret won't buy him much time. More Apollos ripe for the picking. Jamming is deployed by Shimbalama, I believe, and this is a massive army. Sentinel's going to complete. That's going to help a lot. It'll buy time. It'll force Neatep to try and snipe this rather than just engaging head on. Hopefully he defends the Artemis, however. It is exposed in its current position. Yeah, he's going for that Artemis snipe. Slowly repairing it as well. Yeah, pulling back. Good play there by Neatep. The bottom left is also being captured back, so the economy is starting to recover. However, it may not matter once this Hyperion shows up, and it's almost done. Oh man, there's so many Apollos. It's a common thing is where you see a bunch of air units and then you okay, in the middle there's a bit of a battle here. Archers are engaging and the engineer is sniped. The Zeus is going to get a deadly whip off. The Sentinel now doing some great damage against those cruisers. What a fantastic fight for Neatep. Pulling back these Athenas, doesn't want to suicide those units in. Okay, he's re-engaging. He's trying to fight around the Sentinel. Artemis also going to be sniping it down, so this Artemis needs to fall, else he will lose this position. No engineer to repair it this time. Yeah, that's going to go down. That last rocket will take it out. More reinforcements, however. Streaming new cruisers in from the 3 armories on the front lines. Not a lot of units being built by Shimbalama because he's focused on this Dreadnought, and here it is, the Hyperion. We'll need a lot more Athenas to defend against that, and preferably the Nemesis cruisers if he scouts it, but it hasn't been revealed just yet. Neatep now has double Tritium, but not for very long in the top right. Good recovery from Neatep. Continuing to push through. Now having the medics is really nice to synergize with the Dreadnought, so sniping down all the medics is going to make the Dreadnought much less effective. The Hyperion doesn't need the medics as much as the other Dreadnoughts, however, because it has those healing upgrades. The repair drones, the self-healing hull. Once he sees this, he should just pull back. He can't attack this. Wow, no, actually Shimbalama pulls back. Because there's only 3 Athenas. Okay, no, it goes in now. Uses the nanomesh barrier, gives him the extra health. And in response, Neatep retreats. So good play by Neatep. He has the armories here, so he can rapidly produce the Nemesis cruisers to fight that. Right side is being destroyed slowly. That sieging Artemis cruiser, taking out some of the extractors. Building Sentinels is really good too, because the Dreadnoughts are not very effective against Sentinel turrets. So going for a second Dreadnought is a little surprising. Once you go for a single Dreadnought, your opponent's going to have to invest in a lot of Nemesis cruisers, or its anti-ground units in general. So going for a lot of air units can be a nice transition, especially when he already has the infrastructure, double Sky Factory and the advanced Sky Factory. So you can catch your opponent off guard if you do go for only a single Dreadnought. Income still better off for Shimbalama. He has stopped building refineries, however. So his income isn't growing in the way that it used to, especially as he's losing some of these territory points across the map. Maybe the Dreadnought wasn't the right choice here. He's gonna have a second one though. Neatep pushing the left side, so the game is either man's game at this point, where it was looking pretty over there for a while. Oh, carving turrets deployed. Okay, he will pick off a few of these cruisers. That one's just out of range. And now with those Apollos down, the gunship can go in, but there's still one of them remains, so he can't quite go in with this one. Oh, okay. Furies are scouting. Maybe they're looking for a spawn of some kind. We are seeing Nemesis cruisers now. So a good response to the Dreadnoughts. Nemesis have a lot more damage and the armor piercing than the Athenas. This army was idle for a little too long. Finally cleaned up there by the Hades and emergency turret. Okay, the second Dreadnought has been completed. We already have one Sentinel and an Oblivion turret is being upgraded. That's going to be even more deadly against that Dreadnought. Little attack party here on the left side. Incursion and sentries. Emergency turret though. Good response. Also the Smarty's doing a fair bit of damage, catching these units as they try to advance. I'm curious why he didn't just spawn there. Maybe that spawn was used a while ago to capture these regions. He has snuck through with 3 units. The Zeus is pretty good against emergency turrets, so another one might not be successful. There is a Smarty here, however. And the Dreadnought's in the base, but having to pull that one back will delay it from the center of the map where it really wants to be, fighting over these regions. Income is almost on par now. Neatep doesn't have refineries, but he's got most of these amplifiers, has the optimized orbital, so really smart play. And now he's going for this region. This is a fair bit of radioactives because it has the amplifier. Doesn't look like we have optimized the orbital ability on these extractors, despite having the structure, the power regulator. This army will get cleaned up. Okay, but we have Heroes as a transition. Heroes is going to be great against the Artemis, which are trying to snipe down the Oblivion, and it has so much range. It gets a shot and against these Artemis cruisers. Neatep is advancing. He wants to take the fight here. One of the Sentinels does fall. The Artemis are all being picked off one by one. Hyperion's going to be engaging now with the support of the Athenas. Neatep decides to engage. Orbital jamming in is present. The Hyperion is doing so much damage. Nemesis cruisers are within range now, as is all the Athenas and the Heroes. This Hyperion is being collapsed upon and absolutely murdered. Has taken out several of the cruisers, but not enough to get the level 2 for the instant repair. Down it falls. This Hyperion needed to be in the fight, but it was defending the base. 2 Hyperions would have made a huge difference. But I think the army, just in sheer economy, was much larger for Neatep. Another Hyperion also being built. So with Dreadnoughts, when you have multiple ones, they get so much stronger, not just because obviously there's more of them, but because of the way that their experience works. When you hit level 2, you can then get the instant repair, or you can use the upgrades like the self-healing hull, which is very strong. And then so when you have 2 of them, they're getting more experience, so then they're getting more opportunities to level up. So it's one of the reasons why Dreadnoughts aren't that cost-effective on their own, But when you have them with a supporting army, that's when they get so much stronger, because now you're leveling up much quicker. Lost that radioactives region too, so weakening the income a little bit. Just 3 Apollos is going to be enough to snipe down into gunships that try to find some harassment. He has 2 of them. And now he's going for a really brutal cutoff. It'll take several regions out from the right side of the map. Shimbalama shouldn't fight this. His Dreadnoughts are not in position. Oh no. Oh, Plasma Storm as well. He will lose the medics, perhaps. Trying to build smarties in the firing line. The other Hyperion still not completed either. He has bought time. He saved his capture region, but probably not worth it given how much he's lost. Quanta also better for Neatep. The medics, though, is going to make the Hyperion army much stronger. Just needs to wait until this Hyperion's done, and still hasn't captured back the radioactives in the corner. Going for it now with this engineer, but he has lost a fair bit of radioactives. Mainly it's the metal that's being a bottleneck for him, however. Oh, that region is just stolen. That'll delay his income for a little bit. The Hyperion's done. The army's quite slow because it's got a bunch of heroes nearby. But going for the armories is a great response. You don't want to fight the Dreadnoughts head on if you can. Instead, make use of their lack of speed, their vulnerability. Try to outmaneuver them. Tyrannium has stagnated because there's been 1-for-1. Though Neatep recapturing that, and he's got a bit of a Tyrannium lead. So that will force Shimbalama to be more aggressive. The radioactives are so much less for Shimbalama because the refineries are only on metal. At least that's been recaptured, but this one's fallen. This one is not currently gaining any income. But now double Hyperion's going for the center. So Neatep's army is split off. That's the bulk of it here. And this position, which is very important, it has a fair bit of defenses. Nemesis cruisers, Athena's heroes, and the Sentinels as well is also going to make it much harder for the Hyperions to advance. Neatep sees the army too, because he has air units, and this engineer building a radar is actually very clever. Neatep looking for the base. And he doesn't have enough defending here, so I think Neatep's going to be able to hold this position, and then in response, Neatep will just crush the main base. Neatep at about 30% Tyrannium. Oh, another Plasma Storm. Yikes. Ouch, loses his frigate complement. Yeah, he went used to the jam, but it was a little bit too late. Now, it doesn't do much against the Hyperions, but having taken out the medics in particular is quite a big blow. 2 Sentinels in position now, so this middle center is so well held. The longer he waits, the more stronger it'll be. So let's see how effective this is. I'm not optimistic. And more units are being sent in to defend. Even a Dreadnought's being built, but that one's quite a ways off. Still has some medics in the back lines. The problem with defenses is when you destroy them, you don't get experience. Oh, and a carving turret's deployed. The Hyperion's taking so much damage. The Sentinel is destroyed, however. Carving turret's still doing a lot of damage. Going for the Sentinel. Maybe not the best choice. The Nemesis is really what he should be focusing right now. One Hyperion will fall. The other one now on his own. Going for the heroes. main base. Oh no, oh, the army's actually collapsing upon the center. GG. The Hyperions fall. Yeah, those Dreadnoughts, I think, weren't the best choice. Dreadnoughts are good, but if you rush them like that, you just lose map control. So we saw Neatep lost most of his income, but because the aggression was stalled, because Shimbalama went for the Dreadnought, he could push back quite easily. Where if the pressure was continuously applied by Shimbalama with cruisers and air units, he would have been stuck in his main base, and then you can go for a Dreadnought once you have, more of an economy lead. You have more of a supporting army. So GG, well played. Thank you for watching. My name is Callum McCall. I'm a designer on Ashes. Subscribe to the Stardock YouTube channel for more Ashes content and announcements.